All right. Just confirming we are recording. Awesome. Okay, well, I think we'll kind of get things kicked off. I know we have a few others trickling in, but just to start, my name's Colin Miller, Director of Sales at Pacific Yurts. And on the line, we have one of our amazing clients, Dan. Dan, I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Good morning, everybody. Yeah, my name is Dan Holguin. I live in the northwest part of Montana, right at the entrance of Glacier National Park, the most beautiful state and area that I've ever seen. I have been here pretty much since I was a kid, and if I have it my way, I'll probably end up burying me out here. So I got in touch with Pacific Yurts back in 2022 after a long endeavor of wanting to have my own, and so it's kind of cool to see all this come full circle and be here with you today.
Love that. Thanks, Stan. We're super excited to have you here too.
Yeah.
This is a newer thing for Pacific Yurts, but our goal is to continue to do more customer spotlights like this. Just a few housekeeping items, real quick, to let everybody know. So, first off, thank you for participating. If you are, and if you have any questions at any point, there's the chat functionality in Zoom. Right below one of our faces. You can click the chat button. And then we've got members of our team from the Pacific Yurt side, Tammy and Jaden, who will be able to answer questions as we go through. Also, excited for y'all to be here because this gets you entered into a 3-night yurt stay. So, quick details on that is we're going to do a drawing afterwards, and the winner will coordinate with them for a yurt stay within their local area. So excited for whoever that winner is. Maybe it'll be me. I don't know. Maybe I'll just take it.
Mhm.
Just kidding, just kidding. And then also we'll be emailing afterwards and supplying you with a Calendly link for a member of our team, either myself or Tammy, as we'd love to have any follow-up conversations with you on whatever you're interested in, whether it's learning more about yurts or working on a project to get some on whether it's at your personal property, commercial property, whatever you need. So to start, wanted to kind of dive in. So the goal of today is to learn a little bit more from Dan on his overall process as we call them yurters, somebody who owns a yurt, rents it out. And so learn more about just the evolution of where this whole idea started for him, the issues or things that he ran into along the way, and also some great learnings. And then also just the success that he has seen. So excited to dive in here. So Dan, to kick things off, I'd love to open it up to a little bit more of, why yurts? Where did this even come from for you? Because we hear a lot of creative stories from our clients and would love to hear from you.
I think that's probably like the coolest part for me. I was saying a minute ago about it all coming full circle, and I'll take you back to when I was 17. I was in high school. I was a junior or senior in high school at the time, and I was training horses on this ranch here in my area. And I was working for this native couple, and they had this beautiful property with a ton of land and everything. And on one side of the property where I was working with the horses, I'd be on one end, but on the far other end, there was like this little like circular thing off in the distance. And I didn't really go over to that end of the property just because of where I worked. But one day I went over to it and just to see what it was. And it was what I later learned to be a yurt, just like this beautiful circular structure. And I mean, as soon as I got up close to it, man, I just started to fall in love with it. And then it happened to be unlocked at the time. So I went inside and, I'm just kind of looking around and seeing how it was built. And man, I just couldn't help but fall in love with it. Everything is circular. It just felt like, to me, it felt like just really unique and easy on the eyes in a way because, I'm just so used to everything just being like a hard corner everywhere I look, from the walls to the
Right.
tables to the furniture to all of that. But in this year, they did a really good job of having circular tables and circular rugs on the floor, and everything just felt just really unique. And I remember thinking to myself that one day I'm gonna have one of these. I don't know when, but I'm gonna have a yurt. And some time goes by, and that dream of mine to have a yurt kind of just went silent as other things started to happen in my life. And 20 years goes by. So now I'm 37, 36 years old at the time. And I'm in the same place, more or less, that I was training horses, but now as a bit of an older man. And I find myself inside of a yurt again. And I'm laying there on my back. I'm doing like some breathing exercises and this and that.
Love it.
And that whole dream of having a yurt was just completely revived. And I left that breathing experience. And I think that might have been like a August or September of 2021. And I told myself in that moment, I'm like, okay, by the end of the year, I'm going to have a yurt. That's just what it is. And I went home and I immediately just started, going to work and figuring out who I was going to get a yurt from and where I was going to have to drive or talk to and all of that. And by the end of 2021, so I think it was right around December, I had made my first payment on a Pacific Yurts and started that whole process to, make that dream of mine finally happen.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, I love the seeds planted. Some plants grow
Yeah,
quickly,
man.
some take some
Yeah.
time, a little nurturing. We regularly, talk to clients, and what they'll say is, "Oh, I've been looking at you all for years," or to you,
Yeah.
"I've been thinking about this for years." So, first off, congrats on making it come true. And for everyone
Yeah.
on the line, no matter where you are, we're here to help, even if it takes 17 years.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Okay. So you decide on Pacific Yurts. You say, hey,
Mm,
you make that first payment.
mm.
Tell us a little bit more around your experience with when it comes to site planning, getting the yurt, the build process, because we definitely hear that from our clientele that they may have cash in hand. They know what yurt, how many, what colors, but the real kind of hurdle at first is site prep, permitting if that's needed in their area, all those types of things. So tell us a little bit more around site prep, where you decided to put it, and kind of those parts of the project.
So where I live, I'm in Northwest Montana. I live in the middle of the mountains. I'm about 30 minutes from any kind of pavement, up in the hills, a big thick wooded forest. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to get as close to nature as I could with this thing, And so the place that we ended up setting it, I mean, I could sneeze and hit the tree line. You know what I mean? I'm right in there. And
Right.
so a couple things that were important for me with the site prep was number one, just making sure that I had like a nice level area that was going to be able to drain really well. And I think that like when you're doing a yurt, the site prep piece is probably the most overlooked. And I think that's because at least my experience is that I was so in love with the idea of a yurt and being so emotionally connected to that I wasn't really thinking a ton about site prep initially. So looking back on it now, your site prep is probably the most important thing. So good drainage was definitely something that we were thinking about up front. And the way that we mitigated that is I did an 18-inch gravel base on top of native soil. And
It's a
then
lot
I
of
even
gravel,
put,
Dan. That's a lot of gravel.
you don't even want to know my gravel bill for this project. I'll tell you later, but it was ridiculous. I did 18 inches of gravel, but then I also installed three French drains inside of that gravel. So even if we got water from the snow melt underneath, it would it would
Now,
drain out efficiently. And so that piece was really important. Another thing that I was thinking about with site prep is making sure that all the trees surrounding the yurt were rooted in the ground, were healthy, were not at any risk of dying because I don't want anything to fall on there. And so I took out a couple big trees that were already starting to go. That way, all of the trees surrounding the yurt were nice and healthy. That piece is also really important. And then I think the third thing was making sure that I'm the place that I'm putting the yurt and the stovepipe specifically is going with the wind. If you think
oh,
about
interesting.
prevailing
Yeah.
winds, that's a really important piece too, because you don't want to position your fireplace in the yurt where all of the prevailing wind is going to take that soot and ash over the top of the yurt, because then you're going to end up cleaning it more often than not. And so I just made sure that I positioned the yurt and where I put the fireplace accordingly to that.
That makes a lot of sense. And I guess pause on that with the cleaning, kind of jumping ahead. But
Yeah.
how often do you clean the outside of your yurt?
Yeah, so I have gotten into a habit that as soon as we get like our last big snow melt, which in Montana kind of varies, but it's usually in the springtime, I just go out there with a big bucket with Dawn soap and a hose, and I just do one gnarly clean of the whole exterior fabric around on the sides, and then I do the roof as well. I don't use a pressure washer. I don't use any harsh chemicals. Really, all you need is Dawn, a good bristle brush on an extension pole, and then a couple hours, and that's all I do. And I've had the yurt now for, well, I got it in 22. My first season with it was 22, and it still looks brand new. I mean, the only thing that really looks worn at all on it is the Velcro stitching around the vinyl windows. Like that is just a little bit faded, but in terms of like the color on the wall fabric and the roof, I mean, it's still premium.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear. I mean, that's one of the things we always recommend to our clients is, regular cleaning. Typically it's about twice a
Yeah.
year, depending on the area, could be more. But yeah, for our clients that have yurts that are 10, 15, 20 years old, I mean, that's if they're still looking good, it's because of good maintenance. I mean, that comes with anything, right? House, car, yurts. Keep it looking nice, it'll last
Yeah.
longer.
Yeah.
No, that's
Yeah.
good. So awesome.
Yeah.
So okay, so we got the site prep, some
Mm,
planning there. When
mm.
it came to, the actual build itself, or even just the features that you have in your yurt, after it was all said and done, have you ever looked back and had any regrets, or did you want to do something different? Like what happened there?
Yeah, there's a couple things. So initially, one of my big goals with the yurt was I was trying to mimic the feeling that I had when I first stepped in the yurt as a kid. And when I stepped into the yurt at 17, there were windows all the way around this thing. There were so many windows, and there were so many different little, places that I could look out and see something different. It was like I was just looking into a ton of different paintings in the yurt. So I put vinyl windows all the way around this thing, and I did two vertical windows on the front of it. And at the time, I guess I didn't really understand how insulation and R value played into a vinyl window, but I also didn't understand what it was going to be like when it started raining. And the vinyl windows are a fantastic option if you live in a climate where like you don't have such crazy temperature and weather shifts like we do in Montana. Um, and so I think one of the first things that I would have done differently is I would have upgraded from the vinyl windows to the sliders. And I know there's an additional cost to that, and that was probably the big reason why I didn't do it up front. But if I think about how many times that I've had to sprint across the property as soon as it starts raining because my vinyl window covers aren't on the yurt,
Oh yeah.
and sprinting across there, stressing out because I know that there's going to be water getting inside of the yurt. Man, like that would
That's
have saved
totally
me so many
fair.
headaches.
That's
That
totally
would have saved me.
fair. For everybody on right now that can see my picture, you've got glass windows here. You can open it from the inside.
Yeah,
You've got the, we call them the fabric windows where they're great and to Dan's point, affordable, but you are exiting the yurt to open and close those. And that's something we always tell people up front. Just be like, hey, let's think through that process a little bit. So, but hey,
yeah,
glad that's a thought now. That's good, Dan. You can always retrofit them, right? You can always
and,
add them in later.
yes, yeah, and that's definitely something on my radar for sure. I definitely want to upgrade. I think the slider option is also really nice too, because if you're using your as a business, think about how much easier it is for your guests to just open and close a window to get a breeze, or if they want it to be a little bit warmer or whatever. You just think of like ease of access for people. You know what I mean? Not everybody can take a big piece of vinyl from the outside and hold it up into place and make it fit perfectly. Like, you just want to think about like the guest's experience too. And for our guest experience, we want to have a premium experience. People are paying really good money to come and stay with us because of the amenities, the creature comforts that we offer, and yeah, I want it to be a good experience for people. And I think that having a slider option, if I could go back, I would just do it because I'm going to make that money back anyways. Even if it's a bit more of a sharper feeling on the front end, I'm going to make that money back. And so that would be the first thing I would change. The second thing I would change is I actually just installed this like 2 days ago. I would do a screen door. And I didn't do the screen door up front because I don't know. I guess like I thought I didn't think I was really going to need it or it wasn't going to make a difference because I had so many windows. But the screen door is a completely different experience because one, you just have more access to airflow.
Right.
You get a little bit more protection from the bugs. But here's the thing that I love about it is when you have your doors closed, there's a degree of separation that you have from nature. And I felt like once I had the doors open and I had the screen door in place, I could hear the birds a little bit louder. I could smell the pine coming into the yurt a little bit more. And I just felt like I was just a little bit more connected to nature. And because of where we put the yurt, that's part of the experience. And so I think
Right.
having a screen door is just so important, man. And it's so easy to put in, even as a retrofit.
Yeah, that's for everybody, and we can share this as well. But Dan recently installed that door and actually was kind enough to record the process for us. So
Mm,
we're going to have to be able to we'll be able to send that out to share with everybody on what that process was, and to Dan's point, how easy it was.
yeah.
So Dan, I want to zoom in a little bit on, you've mentioned the business side of things. So
Mm.
you are renting it out on Airbnb. That's correct?
Airbnb and Verbo right now. Yep.
Verbal. Okay, so I'd
Yep.
love to hear a little bit more around what other things you did to try to, increase the guest experience, obviously for getting more return clients, better reviews, et cetera, and also how you marketed it. I mean, that's something our clients come up with a lot of. To your point, they get emotional around the idea of getting the yurt.
Yeah.
They want to turn it into a business, or maybe it's for personal use and eventually they rent it. But either way, that process of taking the step from yurt is built, decorated, ready to go. How do I make some money on this? Would love to hear about your story there.
So, okay, so before the yurt was even built, I started immediately sharing my ideas and the vision that I had for the yurt on my Facebook and Instagram and all of that. And I guess in the beginning, like I was doing it because I was excited and because I just wanted to share it with people. But what I started to notice as the process went along is that it really kind of started the whole marketing thing for me without me really even having to think about marketing, if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
so it's like as I'm sharing my ideas, people seem to become intrigued about what's going on. And then they see me driving out to Oregon with my big old trailer and they see me loading it up. And then they see me driving back and starting to begin the process of building it out. And they see the hardships that I'm going through as I'm struggling to get the roof fabric in place. They start seeing me like toil over getting my flooring in there just right. And so like every time that I was sharing this stuff on social media and stuff, people were buying into the story and the idea more and more. And I think that like from a marketing side of things, like that was a really organic way that we were able to generate a lot of interest in the early days of the year before construction happened because I was sharing so much of it
I
and I
like
was
that.
sharing my story behind it even. People were just really bought into it. And then once the yurt was up, um, and well, actually, before the yurt was up, but just about by the time I was done with it, I had listed it on Airbnb. So before it was completed, before I had it going, it was listed on Airbnb. And so what I did is I paid a guy online to create some 3D renderings of what I wanted the space to look like, from the inside of the yurt to the outside and the surrounding area. And I created a listing. and I said in the description, and I was just very clear and upfront, this yurt is not yet completed, but I've made a few pictures because this is what it's going to look like. And
I love
for
that.
those that want to just book your stay with us now, I'm going to give you a generous discount on your reservation. And man, I had a handful of people that got on board with that. They appreciated the honesty. They were in a position where they were like willing to take a chance on a guy who's, just got this big idea of what he wants to do in Montana. And so I put that listing up. 30-foot Pacific modern yurt in the mountains near Glacier National Park.
I
And I
love
had a handful of reservations.
that's really
And
smart.
so yeah, and so one last thing, and what I was doing on the Airbnb side, and if this is your goal as well, here's what I recommend you do. First, definitely list it before it's built, and be honest with people in where the build process is at. Secondly, with anybody that books a stay with you, send them weekly updates on the progress that you made over the last 7 days. Because this ties back into that little bit of marketing that I was talking about in the beginning. You want people to buy into your story and your process. And so that's what I did, man, with every single person who booked to stay with us. On Friday, without fail, I sent them 2 or 3 photos of whatever it is I worked on. And then in the caption, I listed it. Installed all flooring, got the fireplace in place, built the shower, blah 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 blah, whatever it was.
Right. Oh, that's brilliant. Because yeah, you're building a community around it. I think far too
Yeah,
often with rentals, it's easy to attach yourself to, it's like a hotel. I'm just a business. And
yeah,
yes, you're trying to make money on it, but it's an experience. And typically, from what we see, if people are going to stay in a yurt, they want the experience, they want the story. And how much better to say, yes, it was a great stay. It was comfortable. I heard the birds. I loved it. But also, Dan, oh man, let me tell you about this guy who was building the yurt. Look at what he had to go through.
yeah,
Inch gravel pad, like all these things. That's
yeah,
really pretty great. Um,
yeah.
awesome. And I've seen a few questions come in. So just kind of ask real quick, Dan. I mean,
Right.
is your yurt on or off grid? I think that's a good
On
question.
grid.
On grid?
Yeah.
Okay. And then we know you've got the 30-foot, and there have been some questions around ceiling fans. Do you have a ceiling fan in your yurt?
No, I don't have a ceiling fan, and the reason I don't is because I've got 10 windows, and now I have a screen door, so I don't have to worry about that. But also, too, I'm up in the mountains about 1,000 feet higher than the valley floor, and so whatever it is in the valley, it's 4 to 5 degrees cooler where we're at, and
Right.
so the hottest that it gets for us, man, is maybe in the 80s, and that's at the peak of the day. But honestly, most people who stay with us, probably 8 out of 10 people who stay with us, they're not just sitting around in the yurt. You know what I mean? They're out experiencing nature.
I love that.
Yeah, so they're not even really home.
So tell me, I'm just kind of watching the clock here just because I want to leave time for if there's, more questions towards the end. But
Yeah.
so we've got to the point where, you've pre-marketed, pre-booked. A lot of questions that people have is around almost doubt, really, of am I going to
Yeah.
make my money back? What's the ROI on this? Is that 2 years out, 3 years out? Like, what does that look like? And so we see a lot from our clients, but would love to hear from you, like what that process looked like and how you managed that.
Yeah, so I mean, I had all of those same doubts. I mean, I think my baseline for life in total is doubt. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I'm
You're not
always
alone.
I feel like I'm always doubting my abilities to do anything. Like I've always been that way. But I think along that same vein, though, I'm also willing to put myself out there and I'm willing to take a risk on things because I know I'll still figure it out somehow. You know what I mean? I've continued to prove that to myself throughout my whole life. And so I think if you're feeling in that way too, I mean, that's completely normal, you know?
Yeah.
I knew for a fact that once I got the ball rolling with this thing, that there was nothing that was going to stop me from getting it done. And once I had it done, it was then a matter of how can I create the best experience for people so people want to continue to show up. And so I knew that if I was willing to take that risk of getting it started, I would figure it out along the way. And so I think my total all-in investment, and I'm happy to talk numbers too here.
Yeah, please.
My total all-in investment, which was the yurt, the site prep, the freaking gravel bill, my utilities, my furniture, everything was 97,000
Okay.
all in.
And Dan,
And
Dan, just for the people, how much of that was gravel?
ugh, 17,000.
Okay, I just figured that was good because I remember it being a big chunk, and
I'm still bitter about
that's an
that.
important one. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So
No, here's
97,
a
17 gravel.
yeah, here's a true story about the gravel too. Like whenever I get like a blue collar guy who comes to stay with us, they'll either see me in person or shoot me a message, and they'll ask me like, "Man, how much was all of this gravel out here?"
Oh man, they love it. Yeah.
Yes. Oh man, that gravel bill was expensive,
Yeah.
but I made it back.
You made it. There we go.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so 97 all in, 17 for gravel. I think I paid 8,900 for electrical. I already had water on the site, so I didn't have to do that. I did a compost toilet, so I didn't need a septic system, and I did an outdoor shower that is heated with a tankless water heater that just hooks up to a propane tank.
Okay.
And
Nice.
so I was able to save some money on the utility side by doing that. Now, here's something I think is important for people wanting to run this as a business. You can provide a premium luxury like glamping experience for people without a septic tank, without running water inside the yurt. You can do it because that's kind of how we set up our yurt. We're going to give you the best bed that money can buy. We're going to give you Starlink internet, super fast. We're going to give you a big screen TV. But again, you're going to have a compost toilet. You're going to be pooping in a bucket. You're going to have to start up the outdoor shower that's underneath the base of a tree. You're going to have to go out and wash your dishes from the spigot that's right outside of the yurt. So you're going to have like this really nice contrast of amenities. But again, at the end of the day, you got the best bed that you'll ever
Right.
find. And so I think people can appreciate that.
Well, and to your point, it's you're renting to people that want to go explore Glacier. They're
That's right.
outdoorsy to some extent, right? So they're coming to you, yes,
That's right.
for some comfort, the glamping, but also we talk about this a lot with our clients is what's around your site. Are people driving
Yeah.
10 minutes to the trail? Is it 30 minutes to the slopes? What are they doing? And
Yeah.
that's really helpful to know. So, okay, so
Yep.
we're 97 in,
Yep.
did some pre-bookings. When did you go live with like your first booking?
First booking was May 1st, 2022.
Okay.
She stayed for 6 days. Her name was Sam. I'll never forget it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I think she paid like $300 for 6 days. It was like a ridiculous discount. But I was just happy to have some money coming in, man, because at that point everything just seemed to be going out.
Right. And were you like with money going out, there's also services, right? Turning the sheets, cleaning up. Was this all what you were doing it? Were you hiring this out? What did that look like?
So Gab, my wife and I, we made the decision that until we got our full investment back, that we were going to do all of the cleaning. We were going to do all of the servicing, all of the messages. We were going to do everything ourselves until it was paid off, and then we would talk about bringing in a cleaner because we just wanted to recoup that investment back as soon as possible. And so for the next 6 months, that's what we did. Her and I cleaned it every single time a guest left.
But that was if I remember when we had our first chat, there was intent there, right? Like you wanted to make that money back. So
Yeah, man.
when did
Yeah,
that
yeah.
turn? When did it turn from, okay, we're in debt, we've done it, now we got to see this through. What was your ROI story, so to say?
So the highlight reel there is 97,000 all in. Um, first payment was December of 2021. 97,000 was recouped in full in September of 2022.
So So how many months is that, everybody?
That's
That's
like 6 months. Yeah.
so how have your bookings been? Like what sort of because of your location, are you renting it out year round?
Yes. Yep. I did I took a screenshot of like that final payment that I posted. Anyhow, it's in there somewhere. But yeah, so we rent out the year round. Um, Currently on Airbnb, we have 173 reviews, and 172 of those are 5-star reviews. We only had like one person who wasn't happy.
Uh, hey,
So
there's one in every batch, right? It's gonna happen.
always. But we've had more than 173 people stay with us. There is quite a few people who they just don't even leave reviews, which is fine. But that thing stays completely booked out from, I would say, May to the end of October every single year.
Wow.
I mean, we have guests in it right now. That's the only reason why I'm not sitting in it. I'm here at the main house, but
I didn't want to call you out publicly, but that's good to know. Good to know.
yeah, we have guests in there right now. So I think that the Yurt has been a home run. It's been something that has been so fun to dream on, to build, to maintain. I love to host, and I'm proud of Montana. You know what I mean? So giving people a good experience when they come stay with us has been a lot of fun, and I love the Airbnb game. I love it, man. It's a lot of fun, and from a revenue standpoint, again, just being transparent here, I think the Yurt generated nearly 40,000 from May to the end of October. Um,
Wow.
and so if I take that money, because the Yurt is on the main property that we live on, so if I take that money and then I divide it by 12, it covers our monthly mortgage 13 and a half times. So the Yurt income pays our mortgage the entire year. Our expenses are relatively low because we are only really paying for the cleaner and then little cleaning accessories here and there.
Right.
But here's the thing I think people need to realize too is, and you might want to check in your county, but we set our Yurt on a raised platform, and in the state of Montana, they cannot tax structure on a raised platform like they can a home. So we're not paying any property taxes.
That's fantastic. And that's so many, we get a lot of questions, of, hey, can I put a yurt in my county? What's the permitting around there? Is it taxed? All these. And it's to your point, just by stating that, it is different in every state, every county. So we always, recommend looking into that and finding out what is possible. But talk about being lucky. You've got mortgage and some every month covered.
Yeah.
Just looking at the time here, we got about 5 minutes left. So first, for anybody on the call, would love for you to type in any questions that you do have, and we'll do our best to answer them here. And if not, we'll be reaching out afterwards. But one that I think would be interesting, Dan, just given your point around, you did the tree removal, but yes, you're still up in the mountains. So looks like T. Taylor here has asked, what kind of insurance have you gone with? Like, what's the thought process of, I haven't seen all the details of the site, but an avalanche is coming through. It's not taxable. So what does that look like for you, or
Okay.
how you approached it?
I have my insurance statement here, and I'm going to be completely transparent and show it to you.
Love this.
Okay.
Everybody, this was not plugged. This is, I love it right there.
Yeah, it's right here. Okay, two things regarding insurance. Number one, if you're going to run it through Airbnb or Vrbo, you're already going to get like $1 million policy that covers anything that happens with guests. But what I do is I also have a supplemental policy, because let's say that you don't have a guest in there and a freaking tree falls on your house, or there's hail damage, or there's wind damage, or whatever it may be. I have a supplemental policy that my grand total, you can see right there,
Oh my,
is $591 for the year. And I do that payment over 3 payments. All right.
that's nothing.
So for an additional $600, you have a supplemental policy that will cover your butt if anything happens to the yurt. It's totally worth it. $600. I mean,
nothing.
yeah, it's nothing.
Yeah, that is nothing at all.
Mhm.
So fantastic. So yeah, everyone look into that. That's well worth it. Another question we had come in, Dan, is what sort of like business structure are you running? Like, do you have an LLC? Is this, you're in Montana, so you're just pocketing all of this? What does that look like? How do you run your
Yeah.
books?
Yeah, it's a LLC. It's a LLC. Yeah, that's the easiest way for me to do it. Sole proprietor LLC, and yeah, all of that money that comes in, it just comes into one account, and then I disperse it whatever I need to do to pay the mortgage or the bills. I do not pay myself for the cleaning or anything else. I don't pay myself at all. All of that money that we make with the yurts gets reinvested into other things, whether it be paying the mortgage or my next project that I'm currently working on as well. But I don't take any money out of the what we call the Black Cat LLC. I don't
I
take any
like
money
that.
out of that.
The Black Cat. That's a good name.
I actually just got a new inquiry while we're sitting here.
Oh no, it's probably someone from here, Yeah.
Nice.
Look at that.
Come on. 1,679 bucks.
Oh, that is great.
Let's go.
That is awesome. Well, and for any of those in around the Montana area, maybe if you win the drawing, we'll put you up at Dan's place too. That could
Yeah,
happen.
man. Come hang out.
Yes. So we've got just about a minute left here. See what other sort of questions we have. So just some housekeeping to everybody. We will be sending out the recording of this webinar. We'll also have a follow-up email where you can book some time with members of the team here to discuss what you're looking to do, whether it's go the Airbnb route, putting it at a youth camp, or having some extra space in your backyard for personal use. We're here to help you for that. And we'll also let everyone know once we do the drawing, which should be happening here later today. So really excited for everybody to be showing up today. Dan, again, thank you for taking the time to tell us your story. And I guess in parting, Dan, is there any last tidbit or tip or trick that you'd want to leave with everybody today?
I think going back to like my own self, man, just be willing to take a risk, be willing to try something new, to be a beginner, to follow a dream, to chase a ridiculous idea. If I could tell myself everything that I'm feeling now back then when I first started this whole thing is to just be courageous and do it. Like you'll figure it out, man. You always do.
Oh,
And
that's
being on the other side of it now, it's such a cool place to just be able to sneak off to for a night in the colder months with my wife and our cats, and have a fire in there and look up at the ceiling and just kind of smile because we have this unique and wonderful space that we created and made our own. I mean, it's been like one of the biggest joys of my life is having a yurt.
that's amazing.
Yeah, just do it, man.
I mean, you did it. You hit the dream. It took you some time, but you did it. So congrats on that. And we at Pacific